Kaya folks, Kaya Kwaba Kiji Janang Nunda Mangamang Yuranga Wadandi Buja. Hello, good to see you all together on Wadandi country. Nalik Karich Wadandi Yungang Jali, the traditional owner Wadandi Buja. This council acknowledges the Wadandi people of this, the traditional custodians of this land, of this Wadandi country, and pay our respects to elders past and present, and extend that to other First Nations people in the room this evening. I declare the meeting open at 5:30. Councillors and members of the public, just a reminder that this meeting will be recorded and live streamed. So councillors, can you please remember to use your mics when speaking? Thank you. First item on the agenda is attendance. 2.1, we have apologies from our Manager of Regulatory Services, Mr Matt Cuthbert, and Manager of Legal and Governance Services, Mr Ian McLeod. Item 2.2 is approved leave. There is none. So, councillors, we will move on to item 3, which is disclosures of interest. And I believe, councillors, there's a couple of disclosures for this evening. Councillor Boland, in regards to item
11.2.1.
Yes.
I'll make a disclosure of interest when we get to that item.
Okay, not a problem. And Councillor Bell, did you have?
11.2.1 as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other declarations of interest? Councillors? No. Okay. We will now deal with item 4, public questions, and the first item is 4.1, response to previous public questions taken on notice. And the responses to the public questions taken on notice from the 25th of March 2026 OCM have been published in the agenda. We had 2 questions from Amber Pascoe regarding LPP 23 and 2 from Mr Scott Baxter, also regarding LPP 23. And those responses are on the screen and will be published in the minutes. And now call for public question time. So members of the public and councillors, I have had a few questions submitted in advance of this meeting, and I will begin with those questions. And the first one is from Mr Paul Harrison. Are you in the crowd, Paul? Hi. Thank you. If you could please state your name and address. If you don't mind pressing the button on the right to turn your mic on before you start speaking.
Okay. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Thank you. Good evening, Madam Shire President and Council members. My name is Paul Harrison, and and myself and my family are from Augusta. I congratulate the Council for their keenness to advocate for an urgent response to climate challenge and lobbying others, such as WALGA, to provide the climate leadership, ambition and coordination. However, to ensure your position has credibility, would the Council not be better acting upon some simple climate action initiatives of their own within our region? For example, there is no edge-of-grid energy policy that puts our region first being advocated. There's no waste to compost, no waste to energy proposals being developed. Landfill gas monitoring and gathering at Davis Road has still not commenced. Continual coal venting of methane gas significantly adds to the greenhouse gas effect. A supplementary edge-of-grid energy policy that advocates a diverse and balanced portfolio of power generation close to offtake and use would be far more effective than supporting a major greenwashing exercise such as the Scott River Wind Farm, which is neither financially nor economically viable and permanently destroys the river wilderness that the Council should be saving. So can I ask the Council, please focus on what they're able to do directly to improve their own environmental or our own environmental footprint, as opposed to lobbying others, as this will then give the Council and ourselves greater credibility. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm actually going to respond to that now, Mr Harrison. Thank you for sending that in earlier, that question. So the Shire agrees that leadership must be demonstrated through local action as well as advocacy. For this reason, the Shire has embedded climate responsibility within its own operations, planning and decision-making, alongside advocating to other levels of government where change cannot be achieved by local government alone. Council has adopted a climate action plan towards zero emissions 2020 to 2030, which commits the Shire to a net zero emissions target and sets out practical actions that Council can directly deliver within its own assets and services. In parallel, the climate adaptation plan towards resilience focuses on actions Council can take locally to respond to climate impacts already being experienced in the region. The Shire continues to review and improve its performance in areas such as energy use and emissions reduction within the scope of its legislative and financial responsibilities. This includes actions such as reducing emissions from Shire-owned facilities, increasing renewable energy generation and energy efficiency across Shire buildings, strengthening climate responsive planning and development controls, transitioning elements of the Shire's vehicle fleet and implementing adaptation measures to protect community infrastructure and the natural environment. Advocacy to state and federal governments complements this work, recognising that some settings, including energy markets and major infrastructure, sit beyond local government control. I'd encourage you to review the Climate Action Plan and Climate Adaptation Plan available on the Shire's website, which outline Council's commitments, priorities and progress in addressing climate change at a local level, or feel free to contact the CEO if you have any further questions. Thank you very much, Mr Harrison. Okay, I now have a question from Mr Damon Girardi. Are you there? Thank you. If you could state your name and address, please.
Yeah, Damon Girardi, 401 Wickham Road, Margaret River, or Witchcliffe. So my question's regarding land use classifications and the increasing approvals in the light industrial area. So with regards to the Margaret River light industrial area and the apparent increase in private gyms being approved under delegated authority, can the Shire please clarify the basis under the Local Planning Scheme 1 of the Shire of Augusta Margaret River for classifying gyms as club rather than as private recreation? Specifically, what definitions, criteria or assessment framework are being applied to determine that these uses align more closely with the club land use, given that they operate as commercial fitness businesses?
Thank you. That's quite an extensive question. I'd like to take that on notice, please, and an answer will be provided in full at the in the minutes of the meeting.
Thank you. Question 2. Given that private recreation is generally a non-conforming and non-permitted use within the light industrial zone under the local planning scheme, can the Shire clarify how the ongoing approval of gym-type uses when they operate as commercial fitness businesses is consistent with the intent of the scheme? Further, if such uses more appropriately fall within the definition of private recreation, will the Shire undertake a review of existing approvals within the light industrial area to ensure that they have been correctly classified and assessed as in accordance with the scheme, rather than relying on precedents?
Thank you. And again, with that one, that will be provided in full in the minutes. It needs a bit of time to get that right. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Members of the public, are there any other further public questions? And just a reminder, yep, sure. Just a reminder, folks, that public question time is a time to ask question. I won't allow any statements or anything other than questions. So please also stick to the a short time frame of a couple of minutes per question and no more than 2 questions per person. Thank you. If you could please state your name and address.
Erin Hutton, 176 Thompson Road, Witchcliffe. My question to Council is regarding the Wolga consultation document that's being submitted for adoption. And my question is whether Council has undertaken any formal review of the impacts of its previous climate action plan and related initiatives on different sectors of the community, including landowners affected by large-scale renewable energy developments proposals, primary producers in relation to sustainability or regenerative agriculture initiatives, and community education programs relating to agriculture and environmental impact. So the question is basically, the 2017-19 Climate Action Plan has been adopted for some time. Has there been any data or information that makes that and I'm talking from a ground perspective, from the community themselves and those most affected by those policies, has the data been collected to see what the impact of those policies have been?
Thank you, Ms Hutton. I don't feel that I can answer that in full. I understand the intent of your question. I'd prefer to answer that on notice and provide a full answer in the minutes when they're published. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other further questions from the public?
Gary Buller, 34 Capewell Road, Carradale. In relation to the Shire approvals for a gravel extraction industry on lot 4154 Governor Broome Road, some 32 conditions were set in place as requirements for this enterprise to proceed. One of those conditions was that the extraction pit be set back with a buffer zone of some 200 metres from the threatened ecological community that exists on the road verge adjoining this gravel pit. This 200 metres was a recommendation from DBCA and the Shire and was given due to the significance of the tech, which is protected by a federal conservation covenant, which dictates an absolute minimum of 50 metres buffer zone, but can and may need to be greater depending upon the severity of the threat. This 200 metres buffer covers both extraction, stockpiling, and any other associated works with the extraction of gravel. Question 1A, how is it that the extraction work has taken place within 50 metres of the tech? Question B, how is it possible that extraction and construction works currently exist within 10 metres of the tech? Question C, how can the Shire's conditions of self-assessment of extraction conditions be allowed to be conducted by the pit operator, and that being annually? What is the Shire, question 1D, what is the Shire doing to monitor and enforce approval conditions relating to this industry and to protect the tech as well as immediate neighbours within the set conditions of the approval? And question 1E, it seems that the Shire is incapable of proper administration, monitoring, controls and enforcement on an extraction pit currently covering 16.7 hectares. So how can this give any confidence to the community that the Shire Council can monitor and control a major wind farm development covering nearly 6,000 hectares?
Thank you, Mr Buller. Part 1E, I don't know that can be answered. It's more of a statement than a question, but certainly we'll provide an answer to part 1A to D in full in the minutes, and that would be great to have a copy of that, please, if you could bring that up here for the minute taker. Thank you. Are there any other public questions?
Hello, Scott Baxter, 274 Dennis Road, Scott River. Question 1, my question relates to the parliamentary speeches made by Senator Tyrone Whitten in Parliament House, Canberra on the 28th of October, the 3rd of February and the 5th of February 2026 concerning the Shire of Augusta Margaret River. The Shire President and the CEO now have a copy of the evidence pack obtained from Senator Whitten, and I've obtained a copy as well. On review, much of that material is drawn from the Shire's own records, including meeting minutes, agenda items, working group material and related documents. So my question is, so will the Shire state clearly tonight whether it disputes any specific part of that evidence pack, including any document, factual claim, timeline or allegation arising from those records? And if so, exactly what is disputed? And if the Shire does not dispute the substance of the material, will the CEO and the Shire President withdraw their previous dismissals and issue a public apology to Senator Whitten?
In answer to your question, absolutely no public apology to Senator Whitten. I'd like to answer that question in full within the minutes, but in short, absolutely dismiss the claims in there of corruption and misdoing by this local government, this administration and former elected members. The CEO and I actually met with Senator Whitten and he didn't even know what the Local Government Act was. So the credibility in regards to those statements is questionable. But yeah, that can be answered in full in the minutes. Mr Baxter?
Yeah, so question 2, the evidence pack does not point to just one isolated concern. Each document is individually identified and annotated, and together they raise a decade-long pattern of questionable process, governance and integrity from 2016 onward. If the Shire's own documentary trail gives rise to credible concerns about conflict of interest, governance failures and or improper process, then this simply cannot be handled internally or brushed aside with broad denials. So will the Shire commit tonight to referring those matters for an independent external investigation and to issuing a public statement or media release confirming that process so the community and the ratepayers can be assured that these matters are being properly examined?
Again, Mr Baxter, that will be answered full in the minutes, but in short, I have advised yourself and also Mr Senator Whitten that the process to test corruption is through the Australian corruption, the ACCC. There's a legal process that can be followed, and I've recommended yourself and also Senator Whitten to please make a claim through there for these allegations. But the answer will be in full in the minutes. No more further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public questions?
Emma Pinnock, 29 Turner Street, Augusta. Firstly, I'd like to thank the Shire President, Julia Jean Rice, and Councillor Lisa Bell for attending the recent DAP meeting and voting to amend the height of the Augusta development, recognising and protecting Augusta's absolute unique coastal landscape. We trust this same consideration for our landscape will be applied at next week's DAP meeting when you vote on the Scott River turbines. My question tonight relates to the Shire's position on the Walga climate change advocacy. Who provided the direction to Shire staff, especially Katie Biggs, to strengthen the Walga climate action position? Was this direction given by staff, the CEO, the Shire President or the councillors? Further, what science and data has informed this strengthened position, and has this position been subject to any form of community consultation?
Thank you for the question. To be very clear, the councillors, the elected members that sit in this room that make up this council, gave the direction to inform our submission to WALGA, the representative that represents local governments, the 139 local governments in our state. And yeah, the rest of the question can be answered in full in the minutes. Thank you, Ms Pinnock. Are there any other further questions?
Thank you. Mark Murray, 57 Gardner Road, Corrimup. The questions I have are related to 11.1.1 and 11.2.1. The first one is, who are the climate experts in the Shire that are helping provide this feedback to Walga? I can ask them all the questions one at a time if you like.
You've got 2 questions. You can ask 2 questions. That's the guidelines. So
okay, well,
if you want
so
to
the other one then I'll bundle them together. So there's at 11.2.1, there's a paper about planning policy. So we now have an ag policy, which of course you'll all know because you adopted it. Thank you. There are parts in there that specifically reference agriculture. So I'll focus on one, which is about rural boundary fences or fencing. Why wasn't agriculture consulted, and how are you going to vote on it, and why, and how are you going to move forward with consultation of agriculture in planning policies? So I'd ask you also to consider that part in particular tonight when you vote. There are other parts in there that should also have agricultural consideration. So I'd ask you to consider deferring some or all of it.
Thank you for your question. I won't enter into that item exactly now, but when those policies that item comes to council tonight, council has the option to ask the question of officers around that consultation. But obviously the ag policy has taken some time to develop, and through a really collaborative, engaging process, we've got to a good policy. So that will obviously it's just been endorsed last month, I think. So of course that's the intent, is for that ag policy to be mainstreamed throughout administrative and council decisions.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then, more time should be taken into consideration of the planning policy's adoptions, or definitely parts of them, because there are parts of that. And besides the fact that agriculture, the policy has taken some time to develop.
Okay, I'm allowing you to speak now, and it's actually not a question, so
Sure.
I'm going to cut you off.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public questions?
Sam Waitman, 284 Bulland Drive, Forest Grove. In light of Council's consideration of the Walga climate change advocacy position and proposed strengthening of climate-related language and commitments, can the Shire please explain how it will ensure that any strengthened advocacy position does not result in an expansion of local government influence beyond its statutory authority under the Local Government Act 1995, WA, and the Planning and Development Act 2005? What internal governance mechanisms or policy safeguards are in place to prevent climate-related objectives being applied in a manner that affects private land use, agriculture operations, or business activities beyond those powers conferred by legislation?
Sorry, that's two questions, and I've got a massive agenda tonight, so I'm going to cut you off there.
Thank you.
Sam will provide that response in full in the minutes, okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other further questions? Please stick to two. Thank you. Mr. Gaunt.
Sorry, Dane Gaunt, Hillier Drive, Margaret River. I wasn't actually going to ask a question, but I kind of feel the need to, and I can state that I have no involvement in any renewable energy project in the Shire at the moment. But my question is the Shire aware of the Parliamentary Select Committee report, The Integrity Gap, Restoring Trust in the Climate and Energy Debate, that was published in March 2026? And the second part of the question is, does the Shire believe that it's important the community be made aware of this report, given some of the proposals out for consultation and consideration at the moment?
Thank you for your question. I'm going to take that one on notice. Thanks, Mr. Gaunt. Are there any other public questions? Ms. Hutton, you've already had an opportunity to ask public question.
I've asked one.
You've asked one, okay, so you can have one more question. Thank you.
Further to Mark's comments regarding the rural fencing, does the Shire have a program in regards to culling kangaroos and the issues that rural and residential people have around kangaroo populations on private property? If no such programs are currently in place, will the Shire undertake any assessment of the issue and make representations to the state government or relevant agencies to address the growing concerns of landowners?
Thank you for your question, and that will be answered in full, but thank you for raising that issue. Maybe that is, one item that could be considered out of that, that ag policy becoming mainstream throughout the organisation. Considerations as that should inform our decision-making and advocacy, so thank you for that. Okay, final public question. No? All right, we will move to the next item on the agenda, councillors, which is applications for leave of absence. And I have not received any. No? Okay. We'll now move to item 6, which is the confirmation of minutes from the previous meeting, and that was from the ordinary council meeting held on the 25th of March 26. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Boland, is that the officer's recommendation? Yes. And a seconder, please. Councillor Muir. Councillor Boland. All right, we'll put that to the vote. Councillors, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. Councillors, we now move to item 7. We have deputations, and we have a few here. So we have 9 deputations this evening, all approved by myself. they are in order there on the screen, and I will call you out in a minute. There will be a strict time limit to each deputation, so I will not allow you to go over 5 minutes. I will ask up our first deputy, Mr. Scott Baxter, has a deputation in regards to 11.1.1. Thank you, Mr. Baxter. And also additionally, as you were all advised, if your deputation is presented in a way that is not directly related to the item that it should be, I will ask you to cease talking. So I would like you to keep to the item which is guided by our local standing orders. So if I do cut you off, that is why. Thank you.
Scott Baxter, 274 Dennis Road, Scott River. I'm speaking to item 11.1.1, the Wolga climate change advocacy position. Councillors need to understand what they have walked into. A normalised culture where West Australian Local Government Association is treated as if it is real local government body. Wolga is not a government body. So why is it governing Margaret River by stealth through reports like this one? Let's not kid ourselves about what this is about. This is another push to drag the Shire further into climate advocacy and climate alarmism. The report does not say, let's hear the full range of community views. It says Wolga's draft position is not strong enough and recommends the Shire push for even harder climate language, even stronger support for Wolga, and not the local community and not the local environment. And this is exactly the problem. The Shire is supposed to represent the whole community, its views and its expectations, not keep doubling down on one narrow ideological agenda. And this is where, and there is a long paper trail here. Let's wind the clock back. The Shire set up the Augusta Margaret River Community Energy Project Working Party in 2016. AMRCCE was then formed by the members of that working party. Council then endorsed the AMRCC as the vehicle for the Council's own local energy action plan. So let's stop pretending that AMRCCE was some separate outside group that the Shire just happened to support from a distance. The Shire created that pathway, the Shire endorsed it, the Shire funded it, and then the Shire embedded it into policy. By April 2021, the Shire had written AMRCCC's major renewable energy project straight into its climate action plan as a priority. Then in February 24, Synergy's own material said that its feasibility work builds on the work of AMRCCE. And we now know from Parliament Hansard that the 22-23 financial year, Synergy purchased rights to AMRCCE's pre-feasibility desktop studies, wind data and landowner agreements. Now that's not arm's length governance, that's a direct pipeline. We are watching broader global sustainability and climate frameworks being embedded into local government here and then fed back to the community as if they are just normal Shire business, and they're not. They are ideological positions, and Katie Bigg's report is another example of those frameworks being pushed at a local level. This agenda does not represent the whole community. It represents an activist mindset that has been embedded into our local governance system. And this is why so many people have lost trust. And that is why Julia Meldrum's position has become untenable. The office of the Shire President is supposed to represent the whole community, not one ideological faction. And in my view, there is a clear conflict between Julia Meldrum's personal agenda through AMRCCE and her duty to represent this whole district fairly.
Mr. Baxter, I'm going to cut you off there. For a start, you got my name wrong. It's Julia Jean Rice. And you are completely derailing off the topic. So I'm going to ask you to conclude your deputation, or I'm going to ask you to finish. You make the choice, but I will cut you off if you continue to make allegations such as those.
If she cannot keep those things separate, then she is not fit to represent this community as Shire President, and she should resign. And if she will not, councillors should stop backing her. And
Mr. Baxter, I have the privilege of cutting you off, and I'm going to because you are going way over. Do not talk anymore. I'm asking you to move away from the microphone. You're not keeping on. You are not keeping on topic. I am asking you to cease right now because you are stepping way over, mate.
The same problem runs through with the CEO role.
No, I'm asking you to cease, like right now. I've given you the opportunity to make a deputation. You've abused that privilege by personally and insulting this council and myself, and I will not allow it. There's a process. If you want to test corruption claims, I encourage you, as I have done to yourself and Mr Senator Whitten, there is a process. It's called the ACCC. It's tested. It's not based on whatever interpretation it is that you've come up with. I will ask you to cease now and move away from the microphone, or I'm going to ask someone to come and get you. Thank you.
I'd like this included in the minutes and the
Mr
agenda
Baxter,
for the next
I am the
meeting.
Shire President and I'm cutting you off. So can you please stop speaking now? Thank you.
We would like you to resign.
Okay. Our next deputy is Ms Ellie Ward. Could you please present your deputation?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to Council in support of the recommended motion, agenda item 11.1.1. My name is Ellie Ward, 42 Blaine Road, Rosabrook, and I am speaking on behalf of Parents for Climate Margaret River. We are the local chapter of a nationwide network, and the aim of our organisation is for parents, grandparents, carers, families, and anyone who cares about children and future generations to be empowered as climate advocates. We are proudly non-partisan and solutions-focused. My co-leader, Katie Degney, and I started this group just over 1 year ago when we set up a stall at the Bunnery Festival. I was undergoing chemotherapy for breast cancer, and she just embarked upon new motherhood. It was these life-changing events that compelled us, as strangers who met through a national organisation, to start a climate advocacy group in our own town. 36 people joined us in just a single day, and now our group has grown to over 100 members. That's 100 families in the Margaret River region, 2 people at limited capacity. Nationwide, we're part of a movement that is over 23,000 people strong, people who come from all walks of life and across the political spectrum. The truth is that individual actions are simply not enough when faced with the most pressing issue of our time. The decisions that we make as a society now with regards to climate change will have huge consequences for our children and the generations that come after us. In fact, for all of life on Earth. This is a huge responsibility, and we should not take it lightly. It is incumbent on all of us now, in this moment, to be good ancestors and take care of the world we live in. The facts on climate change have been clear for decades, and now global warming is reaching new extremes. I do have a visual. I don't know. I'd like you to take a look at this visualisation. It's an animated spiral of changes in global temperatures from 1850 to 2026. I'm not a climate scientist, but you can find this on NASA's website. And the idea is to tell a story with the data, rather than presenting typical static line graphs. And as we know, in these times, powerful stories often win over evidence. And so I stand here with the incontrovertible evidence on one hand and the stories of my members on the other. We are farmers, gardeners, conservationists, hikers, surfers, people who hunt for wildflowers, watch birds and listen to our First Nations people. We are families who love where we live, and we are all reading the signs on country. The fabulous winter rains we've had this season have not washed away our memories of the big dry in 2024, where we watched trees and wildlife die from heat and lack of water. We are a community who are passionate about our beautiful environment and committed to finding solutions to the imminent risk that climate change poses, and therefore we wholeheartedly support the recommended motion before Council this evening, that Council submits to ALGA that it should endorse and strengthen the draft climate change advocacy position by deleting those changes that weaken the response and add the strengthening conditions. As the report makes clear, climate disasters can be devastating for local communities, and as CSIRO research shows, investment in emission reductions and adaptation is critical. We want to know that our elected local government officials are looking after our interests and not those of fossil fuel companies. We are thankful that a wind farm may be established in our Shire and enable us to further reduce emissions. As current events show, fossil fuels are not reliable, safe, or secure. We want energy we can rely on and energy that stops polluting our air, our water, and our soil. The Margaret River Parents for Climate congratulates the Shire and requests that councillors support the officer recommendation. It will mean that we are doing our best to ensure our children and our children's children's children will hear the call of the carracks, the red-tailed black cockatoos, eat fresh local fruit and veggies, and live in a safe climate. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. I failed to mention, sorry, councillors, that I just want to inform you that the deputation request from Gita Sorensenberg was refused in accordance with Standing Order 5.9 due to there already being a high number of approved deputations tonight. So yeah, I just want to provide that information. Thank you. I now ask Anne Ward, thank you, if you could state your name and address. And you have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Anne Ward and I live at 12 Ellen Place, Margaret River. I'm a retired medical practitioner and a resident. I am presenting my deputation in the role as Chair of Nature Conservation, Margaret River Region, which is nature conservation. We are a community-based organisation dedicated to protecting the unique ecosystems and the biodiverse landscapes that define our region. Nature conservation strongly supports the Shire's position on item 11.1.1. We commend the Council for its continued leadership in acknowledging the climate emergency and for prioritising the changes required to ensure a resilient future for our region and for our planet. You've now no doubt heard of this region described as a biodiversity hotspot. Sadly, the consensus within the scientific community, and I present my references, our corner of the world is also a global climate change hotspot. In the southwest, we're experiencing a rapid shift towards a hotter, drier climate. This is not just a future projection, it is a current reality. The data shows a consistent trend of rising temperatures and declining rainfall that is fundamentally altering our local ecosystems. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has made this prediction for the Southwest with high confidence in all future climate scenarios. To understand the urgency of item 11.1.1, we don't really need to look far. I'm going to present a few examples to remind us of the seriousness of the climate change issues. Firstly, I'd like to highlight the declining flow of Woodichuck-Billia or Margaret River. This river is the lifeblood of our region, yet its flow is under severe stress. According to DWER, the Department of Water and Environmental Regulation, annual flow in the river decreased by a staggering 50% between 2001 and 2014, compared to the long-term historical average. Before 1985, the river flowed continuously year-round. Today, the flow is intermittent and groundwater recharge, the river's savings account, cannot keep up with the drying climate. Secondly, most of us will remember the 2023-24 forest collapse. Following the record-breaking dry season of 2023, we all witnessed an unprecedented vegetation dry-off. Many of us have seen the brown, dead crowns of jarrah, marri and karri trees along the landscape. The Shire's own 2024 monitoring indicates this event was significantly more extreme than the 2011 episode of forest collapse. And it is a devastating reminder of just how vulnerable our forests are to prolonged drought stress. The Bureau of Meteorology's data projects a consistent long-term trend towards declining rainfall for the southwest, which will continue to bring years of landscape water deficit. Our forests are not just scenery. They are a critical scaffolding of our entire ecosystem. Further, we know that drier vegetation significantly increases fire risk, which is another threat we've all seen the results of. Finally, I'd like to bring to your attention the impacts on our wildlife. As one of many examples, the iconic and endangered western-tailed ringtail possums, Noea, are living on the edge of their physiological tolerance. Research shows that these marsupials begin to suffer biological overheating once ambient temperatures reach 35 degrees, and if it continues for a few days, they die. With climate change, our new normal includes more frequent and intense heat waves. Without shaded, healthy canopy cover and accessible water sources, both of which are threatened by the climate change trends I've mentioned, this species could be one of the earliest victims of climate change. The Shire's position on Walga's climate change policy is vital to help mitigate these impacts and find ways to adapt to the changes we cannot avoid. Conservation is no longer about keeping things as they are. It is about active, urgent intervention to ensure our environment and our wildlife can survive in a warmer, drier region.
Sorry, you've got 10 seconds.
On behalf of Nature Conservation, I urge the Council to endorse the recommendation for item 11.1.1.
Perfect. Thank you, Anne Ward, for your deputation. I now ask Jodie Passmore, name and address, please, also addressing item 11.1.1. Thank you.
Yes, Jodie Passmore, 19 Yornich Grove, Witchcliffe. Good evening, Shire President, CEO, councillors and members of the gallery. I have joined the meeting today with my children in tow to come in support as a mother of the Shire's position of item 11.1.1. I'm a Witchcliffe resident, having moved my family here just over 4 years ago. I'm one of many people who have moved into this region relatively recently, so bear with me as I contribute my humble perspective to this conversation. We halved our income by moving here, and this was a conscious decision for our children to grow up in nature, clean air, around good people, strong community, and of course, this ocean, coastline and the bush. As we both work jobs now not in our original fields of training, our income remains low, but we feel the value of our family's livelihood here outweighs any financial struggle. We love where we live, and we hope the reasons that we love where we live will remain for our children and generations to come. So I come tonight to urge the Shire to push on with their feedback to Walga for committed, urgent action on the climate emergency. We recently had the good fortune of taking our family on their first overseas holiday to Sri Lanka, and the first stop of our day tour was supposed to be the Botanical Gardens, and instead we arrived at the river's edge, and Prasanna, our driver, pointed to the footbridge hanging in pieces and beckoned us over to see 2 houses laying on their rooftops in the river. My daughter said, "Aren't we going to the gardens?" And he replied, "Yes, but I need you to see what has happened here first in the big rains. 40% of our people live on this coast, and when the sea comes up again, where will they go?" There are places in the world that climate change is much more ruthless, much more clearly visible as an emergency, and my hope is that we can continue to act with integrity and commitment in the face of what is coming. Since moving here, we have become beekeepers, our humble contribution to agriculture, and our second year here alongside farmers and serious food producers, those depending on the land for their livelihood, we watched the browning off after 7 months of no rain. The kids learned about how this was the longest period without rain in our region's recorded history. Our hives struggled, one died, and we were told by local beekeepers over and over that a season like that was definitely abnormal. We don't need the science to be able to watch and observe what is happening to our landscape. To those who have always had the courage to say to me in the post office line that our landscape has always burned, it has always stopped raining for a spell, who aren't content with the data that depicts a hotter, drier climate, the data that shows us these events are happening more frequently and with greater intensity, I say this: we have more people, we have less trees, we have more runoff from new houses being built running into our river, our ocean, we have more dogs that are able to poo on our beaches. The bottom line is, strong climate change science aside, we want clean air, we want unpolluted waterways, we want plastic-free sand on our beaches, we want 1 Davis Road tip, not 5 of them. We want less asthma and breathing difficulties for all our children, less trauma from bushfire impacts, and to take action requires effort and sacrifice. And we are at that point. Acknowledging the urgency of climate action to support our stressed environment is important. Immediate, innovative and progressive climate action policy, good water, clean air, the habitats of our endemic wildlife matters to me. It matters to all our families, to our tourism industry, to our farmers, to our local businesses. And I say thank you to the Council for your ongoing leadership to this end. And I support you in your actions to do more, in your words and your actions. We moved here to live in this intelligent, creative, proactive community, and my hope is that our shared values unite us in much stronger action for the change in the face of a changing climate, so this region remains the magic that it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Passmore. I now call on Jessica Worrell, please, deputation for item 11.1.1.
Good evening, councillors, CEO and staff members. My name is Jessica Worrell from 21 Bessel Road, Rosa Glen. I'm Chair of Augusta Margaret River Clean Community Energy, a not-for-profit community organisation established in 2016 and registered as an incorporated association in 2017 with the aim to reduce carbon emissions in the Augusta Margaret River region. We're a non-partisan charity made up of passionate locals who care deeply about this beautiful, unique place that we live in and the environment that supports it, and we are committed to acting locally to address climate change. Our members come from various walks of life and across the political spectrum. At Augusta Margaret River Clean Community Energy, we talk to all sides and all levels of government to support finding solutions to the imminent risk that climate change poses to the health of our Shire, our country and our world. With reference to 11.1.1 Walga climate change advocacy position, all levels of government need to consider climate change and the urgent need for emissions reduction and adaptation plans. At the local government level, Walga has advocated strongly on climate change since 2009 to achieve reduction targets. In 2010, our council developed a local energy action plan aimed at reducing local emissions with the initial goal of 20% by 2020. This was supported by the community and by the work of groups such as Augusta Margaret River Clean Community Energy. One of the items AMRCCE has delivered is a preliminary feasibility study of a wind farm within our Shire, a wind farm that we are now hopeful will be developed by synergy and help us reduce emissions for both the Shire and the state. Our Shire's ongoing focus on climate change is currently reflected in the Shire's Strategic Community Plan 2025-26. The Shire and our community are committed to climate action, reducing carbon emissions and achieving net zero. But given that global temperatures are expected to increase and warming could exceed 2.5 degrees Celsius by the end of the century, it is vital to both reduce emissions and plan for adaptation. We can see the impact of climate change already, with climate change associated extreme weather events in all regions of the world. We're seeing it in Australia with the ever-increasing insurance premiums. IAG in July 2025, their report showed that claims were jumping by 67% over the last 5 years due to extreme events, weather events. And an estimate by the Resilient Building Council of Australia estimates that up to 90% of Australian homes are not built for current climate risks. So the most recent report you may have seen was on the 7th of April 2026 that showed that Sydney summers have lengthened by nearly 50 days since 1990. In our Shire, we can see that our biodiversity, our way of life, and our farming and other businesses are all under threat. We also need to consider adaptation. CSIRO's research article by Davis, Beggs and Graham, published in the 25th of July 2025, states that only 23% of Australia's 541 local government areas had a climate change adaptation plan. In WA, at that time, only 8% of LGAs had an adaptation plan. WA is lagging behind, and it is urgent that Walga address this. Walga needs to display strong climate change leadership and action for local governments in both reducing emissions and adaptation plans. AMRCCE commends the recommendation by the Shire Officer to ensure that Walga climate change advocacy position reflects the threat posed by climate change to our local communities and the urgency with which to approach emission reduction and support communities to adapt and build resilience. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Worrell. I now will call for Jane Hammond to give a deputation, please, on 11.1.1.
Hello, my name's Jane Hammond. I live at 34 Carrot Crescent, Witchcliffe, and I'm a documentary filmmaker. And I'm here to speak in support of the proposal by this Shire to add a greater degree of urgency to Walga's climate change policy. For decades, the climate story has been blurred by ignorance and deliberate misinformation, by climate deniers funded by the fossil fuel industry. We've lost decades of time when we could have been taking action to bring down carbon emissions. The science is well and truly in, and the climate deniers have been shown to be as scientific as their flat earth predecessors. However, just when we thought that common sense and good science was prevailing, we're seeing a resurgence in climate denialism. Much of this has been directed against renewable energy. We need to confront this head on. I'm currently working on a film called Browned Off and have been witnessing firsthand the impact of climate change on the environs of Margaret River and beyond. I've witnessed the browning of the Jarrah forests and the heathlands from Albany to Geraldton, the death of ancient King Billy pines in Tasmania, the incredibly devastating algal bloom off South Australia, and coral bleaching at Ningaloo. I'm also covering the death of the mulga across outback Australia and have interviewed scientists who are recording forests that are now emitting more carbon than they're taking up. Our country is in crisis and we need to act now. Climate change is right here, right now, and impacting on all of us, from rising insurance premiums to dying vegetation. In the summer of 23-24, the forest suffered substantial browning. It was evident around town and in the wider Shire. After making 2 earlier films on the forest and biodiversity crisis that made mention of a similar browning event in 2011, I started recording the devastating deterioration of the forest around where I live and walk. The Wadandi track, which I rode nearly every day from Witchcliffe to Margaret River, was like a bellwether. I watched it brown off and die, and it was incredibly distressing. It was that experience that led me to start working on Browned Off. The film, which details climate change-related ecological collapse across Australia, is due for release next year. While making this film, I've been astounded by the lack of climate literacy evident across all demographics, and I've been astounded and sickened by the deliberate increase in misinformation designed to stall renewable energy projects, including in our own backyard. No energy source is completely without fault, but solar and wind offer us the best way out of rising emissions. The longer we leave real climate action, the longer and greater the pain will be. What we do locally has global ripples. One of the stories I'm following in Browned Off is that of the Bylong community in New South Wales. This small community managed to stop a proposed $1.3 billion coal development in its valley on climate and environmental grounds. The development was proposed by the Korean government. The legal and environmental defeat to the Bylong project strengthened the argument that South Korea's energy future lies in renewables, not imported Australian coal. The decision allowed South Korea to pivot resources towards its target of creating a robust renewable energy sector, including significant investment in offshore wind power. As a mother of 3, I'm deeply concerned at the failure of successive Australian and federal and state governments to take meaningful and urgent action on climate change. Local government is at the heart of communities and offers the chance to take real and lasting action, from planning permissions to tree planting, community awareness campaigns, to building climate resilience. I commend this council in its moves to ramp up Walga's climate policy and urge it to use what power it has to protect this special place and the people that call it home. Thank you.
Thank you. Now ask And Ms Polly Banks, I believe, is on Teams. Yep. So councillors will have a Teams presentation. Thank you. If you'd like to introduce yourself, your name and address, and you have 5 minutes. Thank you. Sorry, we can't hear you.
Can you not?
Oh, yep, now we can. That's great. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Polly Banks, 14 Sequoia Court, Margaret River. Thank you, Shire President and councillors, for the opportunity to speak today, and thank you for allowing me to dial in by video from Vanuatu, where I'm working just this week. I moved home to Margaret River in December after spending the past 3 years in Vanuatu as the Country Director for Save the Children. In that role, I led the largest humanitarian response and development organisation in Vanuatu, which is one of the world's most disaster-prone countries, disasters that are induced by climate change. During my time in Vanuatu, I led humanitarian responses to 3 climate-induced national disasters, Cyclones Judy, Kevin and Lola, which caused widespread destruction to schools, health clinics, homes, water sources and food security across the country, and affected tens of thousands of people each time. What struck me most about these disasters was not just their intensity, but also their frequency. Communities were still recovering from one cyclone when the next would hit. 3 years on, much of the rebuilding from each of these disasters remains incomplete, not because communities lack resilience, they are extraordinarily resilient, but because the money simply is not there to fully recover, let alone prepare for what is coming next. Through my work, I have stood with families as they describe to me what it means to lose everything, not just their homes, their food and their livelihoods, but also their cultural heritage. On Pele Island, only 2 hours from the capital of Port Vila, where I am today, I have stood at the island cemetery and listened to community members speak about watching the graves of their parents and their ancestors being washed into the sea as rising tides and storm surges erode the land beneath them. This is not a distant future scenario. This is happening now. As Country Director, I also led Oceania Region's largest locally led climate adaptation program, a $45 million initiative. Through that work, we currently support 286 communities, reaching 40% of Vanuatu's population, to design their own climate adaptation plans. These plans include really practical interventions, such as building cyclone-proof nurseries and installing solar systems and Starlink internet in completely off-grid communities, enabling people to receive early warnings about incoming cyclones for the first time ever. These are meaningful gains and they save lives. But I want to be clear, even at that scale, the funding provided is just a drop in the ocean compared to what is needed. Communities can receive a cyclone warning, but still not have the means to build a home that can withstand the cyclone or protect the schools and health clinics and water sources that will be destroyed. Here in the Shire of Margaret River, Augusta Margaret River, we are fortunate. While the impact of the climate crisis is so very evident, we live in a country and a region with the resources, the infrastructure and the institutional strength to currently be able to adapt to the worst impacts of climate change. We are not currently facing widespread national food insecurity, nor are our water sources destroyed overnight at scale. We have the capacity to rebuild our schools, our health services and our homes when disasters of a widespread nature strike. This is a privilege, and with that privilege comes responsibility. The advocacy position being considered today is not an abstract policy. It is about whether you choose to use your voice through WALGA to push for stronger, clearer and more urgent action on climate change. And from where I stand, having been working on the front lines of this climate crisis for the last 3 years, I strongly support Council in taking a more assertive advocacy position on climate change. Because what happens in places like Vanuatu on the front line of the climate crisis is not disconnected from us here in Augusta Margaret River. It is a preview, it is an early warning system, and it is also a moral call to action. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Banks. And we will now move on to our final second last deputation, Mr Dane Gaunt, in regards to item 11.2.1. And just a reminder to all deputies that if you do, just a reminder that this is being recorded, and if you do, in the event that you would like your notes to appear in the minutes, that you just need to table them. So, I'm encouraging you to do so if you wish. Thank you, Mr Gaunt.
Thanks. Dane Gaunt, 35 Helia Drive, Margaret River. I think I've got a PowerPoint as well. Thank you. You can move straight on to the next slide if you like. Shire President, Deputy Shire President, Councillors, thank you for the opportunity to address you today. As I said, my name is Dane Gaunt. I was born and raised in Margaret River. By profession, I'm a town planner. I've worked on a national housing study for the Federal Treasury, examining where housing supply falls short. I've developed housing strategies for local governments, including Kalgoorlie-Walter, Esperance, Collie and Geraldton. I've advised the previous State Planning Minister on the 2019 parliamentary inquiry into short-term rentals, including the case for local autonomy in the regions. I'm not listing these just to impress you. I'm listing them to show that when it comes to short-term rentals and housing, that I know what I'm talking about. Next slide. The Shire's long-term rental vacancy rate is around about 0.41% or possibly 0.91%, depending on the measure that you're looking at. The recognised threshold for housing stress is 3%, so we're possibly at 1/7 of that. Tighter even than Perth's stressed market. 11% of our occupied dwellings are approved or registered as unhosted short-term rentals. In similar coastal towns, the average is 5.2%, and we're more than double that. You can go next slide. Since 2018, the Shire has approved over 480 holiday homes. As far as I'm aware, just 3 have been refused. This isn't the mark of a successful policy or unsuccessful assessment. It's a policy that was never written to protect housing supply because it doesn't contain the tools within it. You can go next slide. And next slide to show the other areas. And the final slide. Thank you. I can go on to the next slide. Thanks. Oh, yeah, that one's good. I want to acknowledge something before going any further. The Shire has done genuine and important advocacy on housing. Developers in the southwest are constantly pressing the state government for infrastructure funding to unlock new land. That work matters, and it matters a lot, and I respect it. But new housing faces real headwinds. No one can control them here tonight. Trade shortages, worker shortages, rising fuel and construction costs, supply chain delays, these are structural constraints, and they won't be fixed by any single decision in this room. But do you know what is completely unaffected by every single one of these constraints? Existing housing. A house that already exists needs no tradesperson, no concrete, no new pipes. Existing homes are the fastest, cheapest way out of a housing crisis, but only if people can live in them. Every time we lose a home to a short-term rental, that door closes. The Shire, nor any of the developers within it, cannot build their way out fast enough, but it can stop making the shortage worse. And that is what Local Planning Policy 7 reform is about. LPP 7 Objective 3 explicitly requires the Shire to maintain the primacy and affordability of residential areas for residential purposes. That objective is real. The problem is that the assessment criteria officers must follow contain nothing to operationalise it. Officers can assess parking, noise, management plans, but they cannot refuse an application because vacancy rates have collapsed, or because a street is full of holiday homes. That gap is structural. This meeting is the chance to close it. I prepared a discussion paper with a tiered supply test, concentration thresholds, and a model for how officers could apply them. And I'm happy to share that with officers and councillors. But tonight, I'm not asking you to adopt any of it. I'm asking you to let the community have a say first. If you go next slide, thanks. This isn't uncharted territory. The City of Bunbury has recently adopted this approach 6 weeks ago. The Minister for Planning approved it. Bunbury's vacancy rate was about 0.545%. The state supported it. The path is open and proven. The WAPC's 2024 guidelines require local strategies to consider short-term rentals and housing supply. This is current state policy. Next slide. The officer recommendation tonight is to advertise LPP 7 along with the other local planning policies, and that is the right call, and I support it. What I'm asking for is one modest addition to that process. When
time's up, if you can just wrap it up, please, Mr. Gore.
Sorry. When this goes out for advertising, that there is included a short housing supply context statement and a question which should read something along the lines of, should housing supply conditions inform future assessments of unhosted STRA applications under LPP 7? Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gaunt. Are there any questions from any members?
Thanks.
No, all right, thank you. We'll now move on to the final deputy for this evening, Michael Brooks, in regards to item 12.1. Thank you. Name and address, please, Mr.
Michael Brooks, 6 Squires Road, Redgate. Have we got the pictures up? Yep, sweet. Thanks for the permission this afternoon to split my deputation into two halves. So I'll have 2.5 minutes, and Chelsea here will have the other 2.5 minutes. My name is Michael Brooks, and I've lived in Redgate for 30 years. Some of us here, 50 years. Diane and I are landowners fronting 100 metres of Redgate Road, 300 metres from the intersection in question. I'd like to acknowledge my neighbours who are also landowners, and there's 10 of them here tonight, for their support tonight, and they live in their houses with their families. They're all young and old. And there's quite a few of them who are lucky enough to be on holidays and send apologies. We travel in a car, a motorbike or a push bike through this intersection many times per day. The signage has always been poor and unmaintained. It hasn't been signed properly. I have a little question in here for later. Has the signage been to standard practice as per AS 1742.2? My job is designing and marking, which is putting in signs for some of Australia's biggest mountain bike races. I work in New South Wales, Tasmania and Western Australia, and if I stuff up signage, I lose human beings in the forest. On that, we, the residents, believe that the enhanced signage and marking plan will make a huge difference and understanding to this intersection. So well done to Nick and team. We're all here because we strongly oppose the use of rumble strips due to excess noise. We request that your new plan for signage and marking is used first, with a forward vision to realigning this intersection like most others in this region. We're local residents who have alerted you guys to the danger in our community. Please don't punish us with rumble strip noise 24/7. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Over to Chelsea.
Thank you. Perfect timing. Thanks.
All right. Good evening, President and councillors. My name is Chelsea and I'm the owner and resident of 60 Squires Road in Redgate, where I live with my husband and our 2.5-year-old daughter. We moved here from inner city Perth 4 years ago for a quiet, nature-based lifestyle away from the sights and sounds of an urban environment. Our property generally provides this, though we do experience some road noise from Caves Road and Redgate Road, particularly in certain wind conditions. This is currently manageable. However, installing rumble strips on Redgate Road would significantly increase noise levels and materially affect our enjoyment of our home and our surrounding land. Our property falls within the 300-metre accepted distance from the impacts of rumble strips, and I doubt that any residents that live within this radius would support them. There have been traffic counters on Redgate Road recently, including at present, so the Shire will be aware it carries hundreds of vehicles daily, potentially thousands during peak periods. With that volume, rumble strips wouldn't create just an occasional disturbance, but continuous noise throughout the day and into the evening following sunset. The recent incidents at the intersection appear to stem from visibility issues. The signage is cluttered and poorly prioritised, reducing the prominence of the stop signs, and the stop line paint is very worn. The planned improvements, the more prominent signage, the refreshed line marking and the vegetation clearing, are practical, cost-effective measures that directly address this. It's also worth noting that one of the Shire's stated purposes is to improve quality of life for everyone in the community. Introducing a measure that creates constant noise for nearby residents would run counter to that objective, particularly when less intrusive safety upgrades are already planned. For these reasons, it'd be reasonable to implement the visibility improvements first and assess their effectiveness before considering more intrusive and costly measures such as rumble strips. Thanks for considering this perspective.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the deputies from members of council? No? Okay. That now concludes deputations.
I submitted for a deputation for Redgate today.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think that came through. I'm sorry. But maybe just give me a second. I'll get some advice around that. What was your name? Oh yeah, look, I think I saw that come through late. I'm sorry, we've already really exhausted the time allocated. We've got a very big agenda. All the councillors have received your email. Is that right, councillors? You've seen that? Did it come to all of us? I'll just check that. But I really need to press on. I've got a lot of items to deal with tonight. So thank you. Thanks.
Can I ask a question then that it would be taken into consideration?
I'm sorry, I can't allow that. If I allow you, then I'm effectively allowing everyone in the galley. So just if you could please just trust that we've all read your email, and we've heard from others, and we've received a lot of contact in regards to this item. So I'll move on now. Thank you. Okay, so councillors, item 8, petitions. I don't believe there are any petitions. No, not that we have. And just briefly, I'll make my Shire President's announcement. So it's been a full and meaningful period across our community over the last month, and I'd like to acknowledge a few significant activities. So the Margaret River Pro has once again begun and brought an incredible energy to the region. While it's a first-class event on the global stage, what stands out just as much is the way our community shows up. The locals, the volunteers, businesses and organisers all playing their part. It's something we can genuinely be proud of, not just for the spectacle, but for how it reflects who we are as a community. And the local surfing opportunity it provides for our youth and our talented young people in our community is fantastic. We also recently saw the delivery of Connections Week, which was an important on-the-ground initiative, bringing together local services and organisations to connect people experiencing hardship, including homelessness, with the practical support and pathways ultimately into the goal of longer-term care. It's a strong example of what can be achieved when our community works together with compassion to support those who need it most. Looking ahead, at Anzac Day services will be held across the Shire. These are always significant moments for reflection, respect and remembrance. I encourage our community to attend and take the time to honour those who have served. Also in May, we welcome back the infamous Margaret River Readers and Writers Festival, which is another much-loved event that brings together people in our Shire and visitors through stories, ideas and conversation. It's a great example of the cultural depth of our region and the value our community places on creativity and connection. I encourage you all to pop along and have a look. Item 10 is questions from members of which due notice has been given, and there are none. So we'll now move into reports on committees and officer reports. And the first item on the agenda is 11.1.1, the Walga Climate Change Advocacy Position. Councillors, do I have someone who wishes? Councillor Muir to move the officer's recommendation? Yep. Okay, as written, and do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Daff. Councillor Muir.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And thank you to Officer Katie Biggs for her work on this. I think it's really important. As councillors, we are charged with not only looking after our community today, but tomorrow. That's in the legislation, that's in the Act. I think it's undeniable that we are in a drying climate that we're experiencing more and more adverse weather events, and we can't sit and do nothing. And unfortunately, the previous WELGA position that was put forward to us did not recognise that adequately. We are responsible to ensure that we are caring for our community, our economies and our ecosystems. I think it's been very clear, thank you to all the deputies tonight. You painted a picture of what's happening locally and what's happening internationally and what our responsibilities are. I guess I'm really concerned too that this creates division in our community amongst some people. And I think we all feel equally the burden of the change that's happening. And I think it's really scary and sometimes we feel helpless. And I think we actually have a strong community and we need to work together. This isn't going to happen just one person or one group. We are actually all chosen to live here. We all care about this place. We all care about our families. And I think we need to work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Muir. Councillor Duff.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Councillor Muir pretty much summed up everything that I had written down to say. But I'll just maybe add that, yeah, this was something that the council did workshop together with Katie Biggs. So thank you for all the work that was put into it. It was in response to seeing the draft position statement change from their previous year's ones and losing some of the strength that it had in the past. And thank you for all the deputations. It was a lot to take in, and I hope to go back and maybe listen to some of them again later. But this is just our council feedback to the WALGA position, advocacy position statement. Our wording might not change anything at the end of the day, but I'm glad that it did actually spark a really robust discussion in our community and highlight this issue again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duff. Do I have anyone else who wishes to speak to this? Councillor Keno.
Yeah, I'm supporting the officer's recommendation. I guess after listening to all the deputations tonight, I've lived in this area for most of my life, 40 years, and I've been on council since 2013. And while I don't agree with everything that happens here, what I can say is that we are leaders in what we do. I felt tonight like, did I miss something? Did people not understand what we're doing here? You know, again, we're just putting our thoughts forward and doing it. But yeah, I'm so proud of what we've done, not everything. And like I say, I don't agree with everything, but we've made a stand right from the start. But I did feel tonight like, oh, have we not been doing a good job? Do people not know what goes on? Do people not know what's in our reports and how we do things? So for me, just having watched it change over the years and where we've come from and being here all that time, yeah, I don't know how we share what we do other than, you know, keep doing what we're doing. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Keno. Any other councillors wish to speak to this item? Councillor Boland.
Yes, I speak in support of the recommendation. There's a part of the agenda item that's very relevant, which is, and I'll read it out, the Local Government Amendment Act of 2023 formally updated the Local Government Act to include climate change responsibilities. Local governments are now required to consider the promotion of environmental sustainability, plan for and mitigate climate change risks, and consider long-term consequences on future generations in their decision-making. So I think that's simply what we're doing here. WALGA is our sector's peak body. It develops positions and policies on behalf of our sector. So we are contributing to that, and I think we're making a valuable contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Anyone else wish to speak to this item? Well, I'll conclude, and thank you, councillors, for your support in this recommendation that's come from our administration. That's correct, councillors. We felt that it wasn't strong enough, the position, and unfortunately, under the leadership of ill-informed global leaders, we have unfortunately seen a reduction in the recognition and seriousness, the recognition of the seriousness of the climate crisis that we're experiencing across the planet Earth, which we only have one of. And, you know, this is us just doing our bit to strengthen that advocacy piece. So I'm really proud to support this. And, you know, unfortunately, it's disturbing tonight to hear some, you know, displayed examples of typically orchestrated campaigns of misinformation and, you know, inclusive of misconduct claims against local governments and weaponising renewable energy and clearly denying the seriousness of this climate crisis we're in. So I'm really proud to support this position. I'm really pleased to hear from members of the community in regards to how important this item is to them. And as Councillor Boland has clearly alluded to, the legislation, so the law that governs the way that local government members conduct their business, actually now ensures that we do consider the climate change crisis and the climate crisis in our decision-making process. So this is one way that we're addressing that within the Act. And I just wanted to allude to just some of the interesting information that was in the report that WALGA has done. So WALGA has done a series of surveys in terms of consultation to inform this position. And one of those surveys, well, the most recent one in 2024, I think it was, consistently identified the main barriers for local governments in undertaking emissions reduction and adaptation actions. As, of course, we talk about every time we get together, our limited capacity and resources, you know, the funding and support and expertise needed to take local action. And, you know, these issues are particularly significant for smaller regional local governments whose assets and communities are far more vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, such as extreme weather events that we're already experiencing. So this, you know, WALGA represents 139 local governments in the state. And as we are leaders in this space, it's really important that we, you know, we think of all local government areas within the state. And additionally, the insurance impact. So there's significant evidence identifying the negative impact on the economy. So that our economy is not immune to that from the increasing climate change risk and hazards. So from the Productivity Commission inquiry, with really infrastructure and agricultural sectors are likely to face some of the most significant challenges. You know, and agriculture makes up such a large part of our community. So it's a serious consideration in our decision-making capacity. The Insurance Council of Australia reports that the cost of extreme weather events has resulted in payments to policyholders impacted by extreme weather events rising from an average $2.1 billion per annum in real terms over the last 30 years to an average of $4.5 billion per annum over the last 5 years. So in the last 5 years, what an extraordinary increase. The figures just show they're evident. So there is the estimate from that inquiry that climate change will cost the nation up to $1 trillion by 2050, and that 380 billion of these costs can be avoided if immediate action is taken to reduce emissions and to adapt to the impacts of climate change. And therefore, I wholeheartedly support this stronger position to our body, WALGA, in their climate change advocacy. Councillors, I ask us to put this to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We now move into item 11.2.1, which is the planning policy review. So we have, I've got some declarations of interest from a couple of members, Councillor Bell and Councillor Boland, both indirect financial interests. And yes, Councillor Boland, do you wish to speak?
Yes, did you want me to go?
Sure, go for it. Yep.
Yes, okay. Declaration of interest. I have a property used for short-term rental accommodation within the permissible area in Margaret River, shown on policy map 2. I've opted not to be part of review of this local planning policy 7, as that could be considered a proximity and financial interest. And
Thanks, Councillor Boland. Thank you. Councillor Bell.
would like to declare an indirect financial interest. I maintain holiday homes throughout the Shire, including those contained in the policy area. I also undertake fire mitigation measures at those properties, so I consider that to be an indirect financial interest.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. We'll just wait for you to leave the room. Thank you. Okay, councillors. Councillor Muir, do you wish to?
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation, however, with an addition, an amendment.
Sure.
Hoping.
Yep, so Councillor Muir will move an amended officer's motion. So we'll have that in front of us, councillors, and I think we've all received this prior to. So, Councillor Muir, can you confirm, is it just that point 6 there?
Yes, thank you. It's point 6 that I request the CEO to undertake further review of local planning policy number 7, short stay accommodation, considering data on current STRA approvals and housing supply context, including rental vacancies and dwelling approvals within the Shire. And I think this is vital because, unfortunately...
Sorry, I'll just get a seconder, Councillor Muir, and then I'll allow you to speak. Yes, Councillor Duff is seconding that. Thank you, Councillor Muir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Duff. I think this is really important. We're all aware of the housing crisis at the moment and rental stress. Last week, Council was given a report done by Castlemaine that the most recent verified and valid figures that we have is in 2016, 10.1% of renters were in rental stress. In 2021, 29.4% of renters were in rental stress. That was 21. I think we're all well aware that unfortunately that stress has only increased, and the impacts on, I guess, people's mental health and the ability to live here and our local economy. Unfortunately, the thing that's constraining our local economy is not more tourism accommodation, it's actually accommodation for workers and people who live here. So I think it's vital that we do everything that we can to investigate how we can manage this. It certainly may not solve all the problems, but it's vital that we interrogate it further.
Thank you, Councillor Muir. Councillor Duff.
I concur with everything that Councillor Muir said. So, yeah, I support this, that we bring this one back and have a deeper review of it.
Thank you, Councillor Duff. Do I have anyone else who wishes to speak to this? Can I ask a question of Mr. Logan, I think? In regards to what we heard from one of our deputies, which is part of this whole motion, the boundary fencing, LPP4. From my interpretation, there's been minor modifications to this policy to meet the requirements of the LPS2, and then a slight, I see here on actually the last page of it, PC 4.4 fences which allow free movement of wildlife through rural residential areas. There's a couple of other comments on there, but very minor. Can I just ask, how often is that policy generally? What's the general terms around policy review, such as this one?
Through the chair, policies are generally reviewed every 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to this? I'll just finish. I might as well. Yeah, I support this amendment. Thank you, Councillor Muir and Councillor Duff. I think, in terms of particularly addressing that Objective 5 within the policy, where we have stated that we do consider accommodation for long-term housing, I think I'd really like to see how that objective is measured and what we can further improve within our planning controls in our local government around housing supply. We've seen various, and I'm sure we'll continue to see, unfortunately, various state government legislative changes that directly impact housing availability, such as, the ancillary dwellings or granny flats being now allowed where we didn't permit it before. And, you know, the incremental and actually wholesale impact that has on our housing stock is unfortunately misunderstood, I think, at a state government level. So, yeah, happy to support this amendment. And thank you for the officers for all their work on this. There's a lot of policies to consider. I'm happy to do it on block. I'm also in addressing the email we got today from the Witchcliffe residents in regards to the Witchcliffe character controls and that policy concept plan. I'm happy that that's, you know, not set in concrete, and there'll be further community consultation to further in stipulate how that will actually happen on the ground. So I'm very happy with this, and thanks for all the work that's gone into this, members of the staff. Anyone else wish to speak to this item? Councillor Duff.
I know that I've already spoke to it, but I thought it was an amendment, that we were just getting the amendment.
No, so Councillor Muir moved the officer's recommendation with the amendment as a motion. So
that's okay then.
And can I just check in terms of governance matters? Is it substantial enough that it needs a reason that it's not an alternative motion? Is it? It's literally okay. Just checking. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, we'll put that to the vote, councillors. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. All right, we'll just get our fellow members back in the room. Councillors, for your information, that was passed with a slight amendment to add on there we go, point 6, request the CEO to undertake further review of the LPP 7, considering data and current Shire approvals and housing supply context, including rental vacancies and dwelling approvals within the Shire. We now move on to item 11.2.2, and that is the purchase of one maintenance grader with mono broom roller. Do I have a councillor with a motion, please? Councillor Keno, as written, thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Bell. Councillor Keno? Councillor Bell? No? All right, if there's no one that wishes to speak to this, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item, 11.3.1 is lease to Gracetown Tennis Club. Do I have a councillor to move a motion, please? Councillor Boland, as officer's recommendation is written? Yes. Okay, thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Winter? Councillor Winter, thank you. Councillor Boland, do you wish to speak to that motion?
Just briefly, that it seems quite a sensible approach to acknowledging a situation that exists and having some process and arrangements around it, and look forward to seeing the tennis courts there in good shape. So I might even get to have a hit there finally. Well, I've been meaning to go down and see the Gracetown Tennis Club and have a hit, but looking forward to how this project turns out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Councillor Winter?
Yeah, the Gracetown Tennis Club's been a long-standing club, and it's just great to see anything recreational where people are getting out and having exercise. So, yeah, let's go for it. And
great. Thank you, Councillor Winter. Any other councillors wish to speak to this? I'll just acknowledge that I think this is great in terms of consistency in our approach to, community leases. This is just bringing it in line with many other facilities that we have or that we have a management order over. So, really pleased to see this and great engagement from the club. So this is a great step forward. So I support this. Let's put this motion to the vote, councillors. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We move to 11.3.2, which is list of payments for March 2026. Do I have a councillor to move a motion, please? So many. Councillor Forte, you were quick. Councillor Keno, would you like to second that? Councillor Forte, do you wish to speak? Councillor Keno? If there's no other members who wish to speak, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We'll now move to 11.3.3, the financial activity statement for February 2026. Do I have a councillor to move that? Councillor Keno, and a seconder, Councillor Darth. Councillor Keno? Councillor Darth? No, we'll put that to the vote, councillors. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 12 is motions from members of which previous notice has been given. 12.1 is the safety on intersection of Redgate Road, Caves Road, raised by Councillor Duff. Councillor Duff gave this notice at the previous meeting. So, councillors, we have a motion. Do we have a motion? Councillor Duff.
Yeah, I would like to put up my original motion.
So the motion that's in the agenda?
Not the staff recommendation, the original motion I put up. Would you like me to read it? Or
that's okay. I think we've got it on the screen there. Is that correct, what you're seeing in front of the screen?
Yes. Would you like a reason now, or will I just...
No, we'll get a seconder before you do that. So Councillor Duff moving, Councillor Bell moving. Yep. And so, yep, if you wish to provide a reason, please, before you speak to it.
Yeah, I don't believe that the minor mitigation efforts will have a big enough impact on the road safety while we wait for the possibility of a major redevelopment in this intersection. And looking closely at the guidelines, it does look like that it will meet 3 of the criteria.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just clarifying the difference between the officer's recommendation. Okay, so effectively the difference is the addition of B, the implementation of the rumble strips, as opposed to the... Yep, okay, thank you. All right, Councillor Duff, do you wish to speak to that?
Yeah, I really thank the community for their input. We had a lot of people contact us for many years about this issue, and it's been ongoing. After going back and forth with the administration with all the options that the community members put forward about painting stop or lines on the road, I've arrived back at the thinking that, at least for now, rumble strips is the most effective means to save lives and accidents in this intersection. Main roads did not support painting on the road, and other proposed improvements of signage could actually increase the confusion at this intersection, and we have no proof that it will provide effectiveness in reducing accidents. So to meet the guidelines to implement rumble strips, there needs to be 3 or more of the conditions present. And there was one that I kept coming back to after speaking to many community members, that there may be misleading cues leading up to the intersection, leading drivers to become confused about the priority and location of the intersection. The 70-kilometre signs are highly visible from the west side of Redgate, and therefore the stop signs are very often mixed. So from my opinion, this is the 3rd point, that this intersection does actually fit the guidelines for rumble strips. My understanding is that the most recent accident was an 18-year-old who was travelling in a car down Caves Road and was T-boned at this intersection and is very lucky to be alive. We know that rumble strips save lives and all the other immediate options are not proven, and I don't want to come back here after we've had a fatality.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I can't allow you to speak. We will have a rigorous debate here, I can assure you. Okay, so thank you, Councillor Duff. I'll now allow the seconder, Councillor Bell, to speak to this.
Yeah, I support the Councillor Duff's recommendation, but I would like with an amendment.
Sure. Let's deal with the amendments first. Yep. So is that the ones that were provided? Do you want to read them out?
Yeah. So I'd like to deal with them separately.
Sure.
The first is that council requests the CEO include a report on the impact of the rumble strips to councillors during the consideration of major improvements in above point C.
Right. Yep. Okay, so
Okay.
just that amendment first?
Yeah.
Sure.
yeah.
So and you need a seconder for that amendment, Councillor Darth? Okay, you can speak to that now, Councillor Bell.
Okay. This amended motion is about saving lives and preventing serious injury at what we know is a really dangerous intersection. Now, it's clear that this intersection needs major works, but this is going to take a few years to implement. By installing the new signs and rumble strips now, we can address the immediate risks associated with the intersection, but also understand if the rumble strips are appropriate in the long term. We know rumble strips work. Main Roads guidance says that crashes have been shown to fall significantly with the installation of the rumble strips. Now, I acknowledge that the nearby residents are concerned about the noise impacts, and I've given their emails and their deputation serious consideration. But at this stage, we don't know what the noise impact is going to be, and the cost of a predictive noise assessment is likely to be higher than actually installing the strips themselves. So we've got rumble strips as part of the permanent solution on Wallcliffe Road with similar separation distances to houses. The noise impact on Redgate Road might be different because there's a lower speed limit and there's a different mix and volume of cars and trucks. So I think that by proceeding with this amendment, it allows us to address the short-term risk and understand better how to manage the risk in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Councillor Darth.
Yeah, I support this amendment because I feel it captures the opportunity to allow the rumble strips to be used and then considered in the long-term redevelopment of the intersection. If it becomes an opinion that that they are no longer needed during this time, then we can include that in the long-term development. So this gives us the safety knowledge that in the meantime, while we're waiting for those works to be developed, that we have done everything we can to increase the safety in this road.
Thank you, Councillor Duff. Do I have someone who wishes to speak against this amendment? Councillor Keno?
Can I foreshadow an alternative motion?
Sure.
Yeah, the officer's recommendation as written.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Keno. Do you wish to speak against this amendment?
Sorry. Yeah, I do, but I don't know where to start.
Or let's with this amendment. Yep, just with this amendment. No, you can talk to it, but if you just address this amendment, yep, initially, yep.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to save everybody on our roads, and we have hundreds of dangerous intersections throughout our shire and throughout our region. I think that we've done rumble strips on Wallcliffe Road. They were too loud when they were put in, and there was issues over those. They are loud, and they're loud for a reason. I just don't think that whatever we do there, we're not going to change stupidity. And we watch the way people drive on our roads, and yes, we can. I think more signage, absolutely. One of the potentially worst accidents that ever could have happened there was a double-decker bus that came down that hill without brakes. You know, there are so many things that can go wrong there. There are so many things that can go wrong on our other roads. And I'd like to just start off by starting with some short-term improvements like pruning and signage and the warning to the approaching intersection. I think we can certainly do that a lot better and give that a trial first.
Thank you, Councillor Keno. Do I have a councillor to speak for this amendment or against? Councillor Boland?
Yes, I'll speak for it. Somewhat reluctantly, I'm a bit torn on this one. We've got a number of submissions by local residents, and I am concerned for the noise problems that may occur. but what I've come back to is I'm on the Local Emergency Management Committee and have been for a couple of years now, and this intersection seems to be the most dangerous in the area. It's come up a number of times, and the view was taken that the Safer Speeds trial would deal with the issues that were arising. Now, we've gone to lower speed limits on Redgate, and it doesn't seem to have helped the situation. There's still a number of accidents and serious accidents. So in relation to trying to make this intersection safer, I think we need to go to rumble strips. The amendment now before us limits those, and we'd have serious consideration of the effectiveness of those and the impact of those in fairly short time. So overall, I'm going to lean towards supporting the amendment that we have before us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Do I have a councillor to speak against this? Councillor Muir.
Yeah, similarly, Councillor Boland, I must say I've thought about this a lot. We certainly don't want to see any more accidents or people suffer in any way. But I think it's really important that we go through a staged process to address the concerns. And I also think it's really important that if we do consult with the community, we actually need to listen to what they say and follow through. And I think we do at least need to look at some of the recommendations provided by staff and endeavour to do them as quickly as we can and assess the situation, and then move to, I guess, further amendments to the road works there. Yeah. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Muir. Do I have anyone who wishes to speak for this amendment? I'll speak against this amendment, and the reason being I have a couple of issues. So, and I'll talk to the rest of the motion, not now, but just in direct relation to this, in regards to a report back on the impact of rumble strips, just to, I guess, highlight the decision-making process in our role, as elected members. I feel that I don't feel I have the knowledge as an elected member to know whether, the impact of the rumble strips will be effective or not, as in regards to a major improvement consideration. So I feel that I don't feel in the right place to be supporting this. And just in regards to Councillor Boland's comments around the LEMAC, recognising the LEMAC comments in regards to this intersection has been raised a number of times, but I feel that this issue can be addressed in Part B of the officer's recommendation, which I will talk to later. But I guess I just ask myself, is this a strategic decision? Is this within our remit as elected members? And I don't feel it is. Therefore, I can't support this amendment. Councillor Bell, you have right of reply as the mover of this amendment, if you wish.
Yeah, I guess I'd just like to reiterate that this amendment allows us to respond as best as we can to the short-term risk, as well as the concerns in the long term on the noise impact of the rumble strips. So it allows us to make a really fully informed decision on whether that is part of the permanent solution. I can't, if we don't install them and see how they go, we don't know whether they're going to be appropriate in the long term, as they have been used on Wallcliffe Road.
Okay, councillors, we'll put this amendment to the vote. All those in favour? That's 4. And all those against? And I'm going to use my casting vote on this one. So that's lost, that amendment. So that's, have you got that there? Yep, okay. And we'll now move back to the motion. So Councillor Darth moved that. Councillor Bell moved an amendment. So Councillor Bell, you have the right to speak to that motion, if you wish. Or...
Sorry, just a question. Can I
Yes, you can.
raise an additional amendment?
Yes, go for it.
The amendment is that council explore a reduction in speed limits along Caves Road in the vicinity of major intersections as part of the Safer Speeds trial review, and that is to be in collaboration with RAC, Waypol and Main Roads WA.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bell. Do I have a seconder for that amendment? Councillor Muir. Thank you, Councillor Bell. Go for it.
Yeah, the intersections along Caves Road are known hotspots for serious accidents, resulting in fatalities and serious injuries. We've embarked on the Safer Speeds trial, which is a really brave initiative of the Shire, but it doesn't address those hotspots where it appears that most of our fatalities and serious accidents occur. So this amendment addresses some those real hotspots, and it's also raised. This issue has been raised through the correspondence received by community members who have expressed a concern about the speeds on those sections of road. Now, we understand that Main Roads is resistant to reducing those speed limits, but I think that it needs to be something that is considered seriously moving forward by council and those agencies included in the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Councillor Muir?
Yeah, I commend Councillor Bell for this amendment because certainly I remember looking at the documents that RAC provided in where all the accidents are happening, and I guess if we can reduce some speed, it will also ensure there's less injuries and less perhaps wildlife hit as well. So I commend this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Muir. Do I have anyone to speak against this amendment or for this amendment? I'll speak for this amendment. I see this as being well placed. Whilst it may well come out of the part of the motion that is undertaking longer term planning for a more significant modification to the intersection, it is specifically addressing this intersection. So I feel that this amendment, further allows a reduction of speed limits along Caves Road. I did wonder if maybe a better amendment would actually be explore a reduction of speed limits or other safety measures along Caves Road in the vicinity of major intersections. I think the Safer Speeds trial review and that collaboration, it's a great opportunity. I mean, we're doing it anyway, so yeah, but I guess, I don't know if you're willing to accept that amendment, Councillor Bell and Councillor Muir, that we add in, explore a reduction of speed limits and other safety measures, because it may not only just be speed limits, it could be other, whatever it is, lionage or whatever along Caves Road, in particularly addressing the vicinity of major intersections. So if you're happy to accept that amendment, then yeah, I'm happy to support it. It's an opportunity whilst we've got this speed trial going on, and we have had a fairly clear message from Main Roads WA that they're a bit reluctant to look at Caves Road, but it is our major tourist route. It's a connecting road. We've got this opportunity of, over 500 Shire roads in the Shire. It seems a little bit remiss to not be advocating for something like this at those major intersections on that critical tourist route. So yeah, I'm happy to support this amendment. Anyone else wish to speak against or for this? Well, let's put it to the vote, councillors. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. That now becomes part of Councillor Duff's motion. Councillor Bell, do you wish to speak?
No, thank you.
Okay. So there we have that at the bottom there. Councillor Duff moved it. Councillor Bell. Do I have any councillor who wishes to speak against this motion? Councillor Keno.
Again, I'm still not supportive of the rumble strips at all in that motion. The rest of it's fine, the amendment's fine, but I just I really can't support rumble strips on that road at this point in time. I'd rather start with some of the short-term improvements and see how we go first.
Thank you, Councillor Keno. Do I have anyone else who wishes to speak for this motion? Councillor Forte.
I agree with Councillor Keno. I would rather take a staged approach. I feel like putting the rumble strips in straight away would, and then potentially finding out maybe we shouldn't have them. It's a bit like putting toothpaste back in the tube. We could put the signs in and see what effect they have, and then we have the ability to move if they don't prove effective, I think is a better strategy, personally.
Thank you, Councillor Forte. Do I have anyone who wishes to speak for this motion or against? Or I'll speak against this motion. I'm particularly concerned about Part B of this motion. I feel we're skipping a due process in terms of a holistic and strategic view on safety measures. I feel confident that Part C of this motion would allow, you know, that technical analysis to really understand, you know, what is that longer term planning, what's going to be successful. I'm very uncomfortable with a budget allocation of something that might not even work, and then to consider, you know, removing them. I just can't support that. So again, I guess I go back to our decision-making process, and, you know, in a wholesome, strategic way, I feel that, I just can't support this with the rumble strip component. We've had, you know, significant community comment around this, and whilst that's one aspect of our decision-making process, it is, you know, it is an important one. And it's clearly not supported there. So I have much more confidence in allowing a more strategic, wholesome and thorough investigation into what modifications to that intersection would actually address those road safety concerns and issues that we have as a council. So I can't support this motion in its current form. Do I have anyone else who wishes to speak to this? Oh, Councillor Boland.
Yes, I was thinking on the same lines, Madam President, and I was wondering whether it's appropriate to move an amendment to remove Part B at this point, because I think we've tested earlier.
Okay.
Yeah. So
we've got, I would suggest, alternatively, I would rather you foreshadow a motion which we will deal with. So we've got Councillor Keno has... Depending on where we go, Councillor Keno's foreshadowed the officer's recommendation, which may or may not include Part D, if Council wishes, or any other parts. But there has been that foreshadowing already. So do you wish to speak for or against this motion, Councillor Boland?
I think it probably makes sense. I just didn't want to lose the rest of it. But
I'll just deal with
I'll
this
support
one.
it because I was in favour of rumble strips, but can see where things are heading, I think.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have anyone else who wishes to speak for or against this motion? Yes, you do, Councillor Darth, as the mover. Go for it.
Thank you. Well, that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted a bit of robust debate for the public, so I think we've achieved that. I think it needed to be tested quite strongly in public rather than a lot of conversations and emails going behind doors. I really do understand the resident in the area concerned for noise impact of rumble strips. I don't disagree that that is a concern. I'd just like to highlight that, Augusta Margaret River region is increasingly growing at a fast rate, and no matter where you live in this region, you are not immune from the impact of the increasing population, visitors or development. Noise and impact like pollution has changed for everyone in the last decade. Unfortunately, if we based all our decisions on not having any noise and light impacts on other residents, we'd probably have to stop all development. So I still support rumble strips, as I've been hearing from emergency services, volunteers, local police and ED staff about the seriousness of this, and I am concerned that signage can just, again, make more confusion at this spot. And with the speed limit of 70 k's here and the dense vegetation, the sound of rumble strips is less likely to be the worst case scenario that's in the guidelines. So I don't feel like we're making this decision lightly. And I'm sure that if the noise it will not be as bad as anticipated. And I know it will reduce the number of accidents and risk to life by doing so. So I'm still supporting my original motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Duff. We'll put that to the vote, councillors. All those in favour? That's 4-4, and against that motion? And again, I'm going to use my casting vote, so that one is lost. Okay, so we have Councillor Keno foreshadowed the officer's recommendation. Councillor Keno, do you wish to do that now?
Yes, but just with some advice. What's the best way to make an amendment by including Part D of the other one in there?
Yeah, sure. Yep, I would just... Yep, add it. Yeah, you can just add it now, Councillor Keno. So
let's do that then.
Yeah, sure. So the motion will read what the officer's recommendation was with the addition of that amendment that we just worked through. So Ms Dixon is just adding that for us. Okay, councillors, are we clear now what we've got in front of us? So it's effectively that previous motion without the rumble strip component. Yep. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Muir. Councillor Keno, do you wish to speak to that?
I'm not quite out of words yet. Yeah, I think we've seen here tonight quite clearly that we're never going to please everybody. But we do really pride ourselves in community consultation, and this came left field out of the blue, and we've had a lot of response from the community, none of which has been supportive of the rumble strips to this stage. So I'm really hopeful that we can do something to make it better there, and I'm hoping that the short-term improvements will avoid the necessity for rumble strips there, because we do want everyone to be safe in our region. That is a priority. But like I said before, we can't be accountable for everybody's bad driving all the time. So yeah, I'm happy with this motion, and I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing some improvements there.
Thank you, Councillor Keno. Councillor Muir?
I think Councillor Keno's covered it really well. I'm pleased to have in that addition of looking at speed limits. I think that will add further safety elements, and looking at other major intersections will be helpful too. So I think that's a useful component, and I commend this to my fellow councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Muir. Do I have a member to speak against this motion or for this motion? Councillor Bell.
Yeah, I'm speaking in support of the motion. I think that the sooner that we take the signage, those short-term improvements, the better. I also look forward to proceeding with the longer-term planning and getting those major changes to that intersection happening as soon as possible. So yeah, look forward to how that's going to look in the budgetary processes that are upcoming.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Anyone else wish to speak for or against this motion? I'll speak for it. Yeah, look, I'm much more comfortable with this approach. I think it's, you know, we should certainly test those short-term improvements first of all to see the impact of that. I'd like, you know, our decision-making and budgetary allocations to be really well considered. We know how much juggling priorities we have as council members in all the jobs that we need to get done within this local government area. So I'm reluctant to add any additional, budgetary imposts via a rumble strip, but also, you know, as I alluded to before, that decision-making process and it being really wholesome and strategic. So I'm really happy to support this, and particularly with that, thank you, Councillor Keno, with that amendment that we've agreed on there with, looking at what other opportunities there are as part of this Safer Speeds trial. So I'm absolutely happy to support this motion in its form. Councillor, I don't think anyone spoke against it, so let's just put it to the vote. Councillors, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. Great. Okay, we now move on to item 13, motions for consideration at the next meeting. There are none. Additionally, item 14, there is no new business of an urgent nature. So we'll now move into item 15, and as this is a confidential item, I will move a procedural motion that we go behind closed doors. Do I have a councillor to move that? Councillor Keno and a seconder. Councillor Winter, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. All right, we'll now go behind closed doors. If everyone can please depart from the chamber, that would be great. Thanks. Okay, councillors, we now come out from behind closed doors, and the council decision was to move the officer's recommendation unmodified. So that is the last item on the agenda, councillors. So I will now close this meeting at 8:05 p.m. Thanks everyone for your input today. Cheers.